How do stock markets crash? I'm Clay, let me explain. I know I said the stock market, but really this applies to any sort of market that is out there. Because remember, at the core, a market is made up of people. You have people that buy stuff and you have people that sell stuff. And as long as you have buyers and sellers, that is a market. It can be a very small market. It can be a very, very massive market. But that's what a market is. But I'm going to take a stock market here because that is kind of something that you hear about, oh, the stock market crashes and all that sort of stuff. So, but what actually causes, how does a stock market crash occur? Well, let's just break down real quick what makes up a market. So you have buyers, and then you have sellers. So like we said, and that's going to make up, let me just keep this all in perspective. So that is our market. Market of buyers and sellers. So in a normal market situation, you have these people that are part of the market. And yeah, they're looking to buy stuff. Stuff being stocks, since we're looking at the stock market here. So you have all this. And then at the same time, over here, you have a bunch of people that are looking to sell. So they have stocks, and for whatever reason, they're just saying, you know what, I would like to sell these stocks. And then what's going on is just back and forth, transactions are happening. People are buying, people are selling, exchanging stocks, just like any market. But that is essentially what's going on. So what actually causes a crash to happen? Well, for whatever reason, and the reason could be vast. In fact, if you go back to the history of stock market crashes, the reason that, what I'm about to talk about occurs has been different in every situation. Now, the result is the exact same. But the reason for this over here, well, really it can go either way. It can be a reason that causes a whole lot of sellers to show up. Meaning, let's just say that, let me get my seller marker, there's something that causes people to start to panic and start to freak out. What that something is, it's kind of besides the point, because what's causing the crash is this. For whatever reason, all of a sudden, people are freaking out. Now, let me ask you a question here. Let me just, for good measure, to make this as clear as can be. Are there more sellers or are there more buyers? Over here, yeah, Clay, at this point, there are way more sellers than buyers. Why are there more sellers than buyers? Like I said, something has happened that has caused sellers to be like, oh, I want to sell. I want to sell. Well, do you notice the problem here? If you have a bunch of sellers like this, but you only, and this is also what happens is, so this is actually pretty important. So let's actually, this is Bob right here. So because of this event that happens, whatever it may be, that also causes Bob to be like, actually, I don't want to buy anymore. I actually want to come over here. And now all of a sudden we have Bob, and he also turns into a seller. Meaning, I just keep dropping stuff. Bob is no longer over here. So now what do we have? Well, now we have even more sellers and even less buyers. And people are going to be like, okay, that's not going to rush everybody out. But when all these people start to sell, well, what's going to happen to these buyers? They're going to be buying, but they're like, well, I bought, but prices keep going down. So what's that going to do to them? If they start to see that they're actually losing money. Well, they bought and now they're losing money. And then they're losing money. Well, these people are eventually like, I don't want to lose any more money. So they're going to what? They're going to stop buying. So what does that mean though? They're going to stop buying. So see you later. See you later. And then what happens? Well, because they stop buying, they come over here. And what does that do? Well, hey, there's even more sellers that have shown up. So these people that are still trying to buy, maybe they are still buying. But because there's that many more sellers selling, well, now they're starting to lose money. They're starting to lose money. And you get the idea. So that's going to freak out these people. And again, the buyers are going to go down more and more, and you're going to have more and more sellers that show up. So that is how a crash happens, is it starts with some sort of event that brings a whole bunch of sellers to the market. And when there's way more sellers than there are buyers, that's just going to cause prices to start to go down. And then when prices start to go down, that's where panic sets in. That's where fear sets in. Because the people that were still willing to buy, they've bought, and maybe they bought some more, but because there's just that many more sellers that keep showing up or that are already there, they're just watching what they bought and their money lose, which eventually caused them to wave the white flag, and then they come over here. So at the end of the day, what causes a crash? There are just way more sellers than buyers. And this happens every day, not a crash, but how do prices go up and down? Well, if you have more sellers than buyers, then yeah, the prices may go down a little bit, but it's just slightly here or there, slightly here or there. But when you get into some sort of situation like this, which causes a crash is just a function of there are way more people that, so this, from an emotional standpoint, this is the best way to summarize it. Crashes occur because fear is greater than confidence. Meaning there are way more people that are, fearful than are confident, in the stock market and wanting to buy. Now these things eventually all turn around, because eventually at some point in time, all these sellers have sold what they need to, and then other people step back in as buyers, and then the reverse happens. But as far as, how does a stock market crash occur? There's that one spark that gets all these people to show up. And then as we talked about, that's kind of the domino that forces things to play out. But like I said, from the emotional standpoint, crashes occur when fear is much greater than confidence. And that is why in many situations, the government and such tries to step in and say, hey, listen, you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be fearful, because they're trying to prevent more and more people from piling into the seller category. Sometimes it can work. Sometimes it just makes things a whole lot worse. But at the core, that's what's going on. More sellers than buyers, because fear is much greater than confidence. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up, as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.